All right. So I had two quick things. So one, Melissa just observed that I use the same music every time we start up again, and that's to program you. So that if you're like out in the hall and you hear that music, oh shit, we're about to start. So Pavlov's dog, exactly. The second request I have is going to take a little bit longer. Ajay's been asking me about this jacket. And I had a couple people ask me this morning, like, oh, I didn't know there was a dress code here today. I'm like, oh, okay. So I was like, well, there's actually kind of a story behind this jacket. So he wants to hear the story. I'm happy to share with everyone, or I can just share with him. Should I share it with everyone or just him? Everyone. Okay. So I'll try to give you the medium version. The medium version is back in January, was asked to go out to Puerto Rico and do a talk to a bunch of corporates that wanted to work with startups. So Puerto Rico has a little, like, very nascent but growing, their own little startup ecosystem. And they just had the hurricane, and they're just trying to get some more economic stuff happening. So they asked me to come out and do this keynote about how big companies should work with startups. And so I was like, yeah, cool, happy to do it. And then I was started to pack for the trip, and I realized, like, I don't really have any nice clothes. Like, I wear jeans and t-shirt. Most of you all know from, the calls, I'm like wearing a hoodie or a t-shirt, and that's about it. I have like a bunch of dress shirts that I used to wear, but they don't fit me anymore. And so I'm like, shit, what am I supposed to do? And so my wife said, well, look, you've got this layover in Dallas, and it was like a 4-hour layover. You could just go to one of the shops there and then buy some stuff. And I was like, okay, that's a good idea. So a friend of mine recommended that I talk to this. I had already been talked to this stylist guy. A friend of mine, like, he swore, he's like, you got to talk to this stylist guy. He's going to, like, totally pimp you out. And I'm like, whatever. So I talked to this guy a little bit. I had been talking to him. So I texted him, like, hey, I got to go on this trip. I'm leaving tomorrow. What should I buy? And he's like, well, buy a white collared shirt, wear dark jeans, buy, what were the shoes called? They were like, I don't even know, they had some kind of name. But he said, make sure that the shirt it's a colored shirt, but it should be untucked. I'm like, okay, got it. And he said, and wear a jacket. Okay, cool, got it. So I go to the store in Dallas. I walk all the way to the end of the terminal, and there's actually like this high-end shop for men. I'm like, cool, this is awesome. So I walked in there, and I tell them, like, look, I'm looking for a white shirt, collar, whatever. And they go, oh, we have one. So I'm texting my wife. I'm like, oh, I think they have one. She's like, look, just buy it even if it's $200. So I go and try on the shirt, and so I'm trying it on, and then out of nowhere appears Nana. Nana is the guy who works there. So there was the woman who worked behind the counter, but the Nana was like this magical dragon creature of a man who walked out, and he's like, oh, how's it going? And I'm like, oh, it's going well. He's like, oh, that's a really nice shirt. He goes, I got the perfect jacket for you. And I was like, oh no. So he goes and pulls this one off the rack, and he's like, just try it on. It's going to look great with that shirt. And I looked at the jacket, and I'm like, I don't know. It's not really me. And I was like, no, I'm not even going to try it on. And the real reason, you want to know the real reason I didn't want to try it on? Because I knew if I tried it on, I was going to buy it. So I was like, no, I'm good. So I just bought the shirt, and I left, and I had this old jacket that I was wearing. And then I went to the bathroom, and I'm in front of the mirror wearing this older jacket. And I'm looking at the jacket, and all I could think about was this one. And I'm like, that fucker. I'm like, should I go back? Like, no, I can't do it. I'm not going back. I'm not going back. I'm not going back. I wash my hands, and I wash my hands. I go get something to eat. I'm sitting there eating, and I'm like, I have to go back. So I walk back in the store, and there's Nana hanging out. He's like, oh, hey, man, how's it going? I'm like, let me try it on. I tried it on. He's like, oh, yeah. He's like dressing me up. And he's like, oh, man, you're going to look good. You're going to look tight, all this stuff. And so then I look at the price tag, and I'm like, I have to buy it, and I really don't want to spend this much for a jacket. But I was like, I'm sold, right? So I was like, all right, man. I said, just wrap it up before I change my mind. And he wraps it up. He's like, oh, man, great choice. You're going to be so happy. Because I told him when I was going to Puerto Rico, he's like, oh, you're going to look really tight. It's going to look good, all this other stuff. So now we're at the cash register. I'm paying for the jacket, expecting now to get a fraud alert from Chase, because I already spent $200 on a shirt, and now I'm buying this jacket. And we're wrapping things up, and he goes, you got socks? Exactly. And I go, yeah, I have socks. And he goes, well, what color are they? And I was like, I don't know, they're black or whatever. He's like, let me just show you these socks. And they were these socks, right? So he takes them off. Yeah. He takes them off and he lays them next to the jacket and he's like, he goes, what's your favorite color? I said, purple. He's like, oh. He said, perfect. He said, they're going to look great with your jacket. He goes, should I just throw it on there? And I was like, sure. And he goes, and after I said, sure, I'll go ahead and buy the socks. He goes, oh, I should probably tell you, these are, just so you know, they're $30. Yeah, $30 for a pair of fucking socks. But what am I going to do? What am I going to do? So I buy the stuff.
I tell this all the time.
Yeah. But they're good socks, allegedly. Yeah. So here's the best part. I think the best part. So I do the talk in Puerto Rico, and there's press there. It's kind of like a thing in Puerto Rico to have this event. And the next morning, I'm flying out, and I get a text from the woman who helped me coordinate, and she sends me, let me see if I can find it real quick. This is like hilarious. It's really hard to spell and type when people are staring at you. Yeah, you're getting a look at my my Evernote file here.
I'm at the search bar.
It's coming, it's coming, it's coming, it's coming. That was me on CNN Turkey, by the way. They'll have anybody on the news. It's freaking hilarious. Here it is. Whoa. This is the front page. This is the front page of the newspaper in one of the newspapers in Puerto Rico. I make the front page. Yeah, I know. But don't read the newspaper. Right? They'll put anybody on the paper. They're starving for content. There's another one. Let's see if I can find it real quick. I can't find it right now. But it's just like me in this jacket. I'm like, it's not even me in the jacket. It's me with Nana. His arms wrapped around me. And he's wrapping his arms around me as he's taking money out of my wallet. When I see that picture, I don't even think of me. I'm like, all I can think about is Nana taking my money. So the lesson here is like, there's a couple different lessons. I was like always trying to think about sales. One is, I had urgency. I walked in there to buy a shirt. And he knew, like, he had the sense. Like, people don't walk into an airport shop with a sense of urgency unless they're willing to spend money. I wasn't just browsing. I walked in there and asked for this. And he asked me questions. Hey, what are you doing? What brings you in here? What are you buying it for? Where are you going? All this other stuff. And then as soon as he knew why I was traveling and why I was speaking, then he knew he could strike in a good way, right? And then he didn't pressure me. He's like, oh, here it is. Oh, you know where? That's cool. I don't know, maybe he just knew I was going to come back. Maybe he just got lucky. But just showing it to me, it showed me what to want. It showed me what to want. I'm like, I should want that. And he made me feel good about the purchase. I went in there and spent 5 times as much as I thought I was going to buy. And then when it came time to spend an extra $30 for the socks, if I would have walked in there and he said, hey, I have a pair of socks for $30, I'd be like, you're crazy, right? It's like Patrick Campbell was talking about pricing. The socks are an add-on. Later on, I didn't mind paying the extra because it's all relative pricing. That's why at Nordstrom's it's the same thing. They put socks and accessories at the front right by the register, right? So long story short is, if you're going to go to Dallas, Texas, fly through DFW, do not go into the store where Nana is working if you're in a hurry and have urgency, because he will take your money. So that's the story behind the jacket.
Or he'll give you a lot of confidence.
But you know what? I'll tell you what. I felt like I walked up on that stage and I'm like, I feel good. I don't know how, like.
And that's why they took your picture.
Yeah. Like, it was totally worth it. So this is the only sport coat that I own that actually fits me. And so every once in a while I break it out and I wear it. And so that's the story behind the jacket. Yeah. 3, 2, 1 to Nana. 3, 2, 1, Nana. Yeah. So anyway. So I hope that was as good of a story as you hoped for. Okay, so this last section, what we want to do is help you, now that I've completely lost your attention. The last section we want to do is bring it all together. Before we do that, there's a couple of other updates that I want to do. First of all, a couple gifts. Oh, we can do that at the end. So we have this little saying here, implementing equals learning. And so huge props to Julian for getting these organized and ordered, and the back is the logo. We had to look really hard to find the nice soft ones.
So soft.
Yeah. We don't want the scratchy cotton ones, right? We want the ones that feel good. So everybody, make sure you get one of those. Secondly, if you don't already have copies of the book, you should, read these. I think, just saying. And then, either for your car or your laptop, if you want to do a little bumper sticker, you got those too. So a little paraphernalia for you. Second thing, so I haven't had too many people ask me about this, but if I could borrow a name badge, here's one. Have you guys noticed these little black things? Has anybody wondered what those are? Yes. Would you like to know what they are? Yeah. Okay, cool. I'm glad you asked. So those are what we call badges. And so one of the things we've been working really hard on over the last couple of months is helping you track your progress. So we did that in the very first day yesterday, just sort of celebrating wins and progress. And there's lots of big wins. We talk about closing big deals and raising money and building the team and all those things that are really, really big victories. But there's also a lot of little victories and lots of little progress that's going to help you build the foundation for the work that you're doing. And so we talked about, kind of the three aspects of the work that we're doing here when it comes to ramping up. So if you think about, there's prospecting, there's pipeline, and there's pricing and paying customers. And when we converge those things and figure it out, that's what's going to help you ramp up your sales. And so when we break out these into smaller parts, if you remember from let me find it here. So remember from the website, right? There's actually these categories. Which way is better? Here. So in prospecting, there's kind of like three subcategories, right? One is funnel fillers, how are you filling the top of the funnel? Second is building your authority voice, a lot of what Jen just talked about. And third is, okay, now we have these leads, how do we qualify them to make sure that the people that are committing to the sales pipeline are the right people? On the pipeline side, okay, how are we running our meetings and our demos? Are we running those the right way? Are we partnering with our prospects? Do we know who all the buyer types are? And then how do we maintain momentum in the deals? And what do we do when deals stall? Do we have strategies for that? And then thirdly, when it comes to converting paying customers, we need to give them really clear value propositions. Why are you going to buy? What's the ROI here? How do we convert and use pilot programs and reduce risk? And then thirdly, how do we build work plans and customer success strategies? And so these all kind of are subgroups of these three. So you have funnel fillers, authority voice, and lead qualification. On the pipeline, it's about demos, partnering with your prospects, and then momentum maintainers. And then finally, down here, we talked about ROI, pilots, and customer success. And so one of the things we want to do is help you track your progress in each of these 9 categories. And so we started off, everybody, with a kind of a blank slate on here. But coming out of this over the next couple of weeks, what we're going to do is send you guys like a really quick survey or questionnaire and help you kind of give you some numbers behind, like how many leads, like what are you doing to fill funnels? What are you doing to build your authority voice? What are you doing, how are you doing your lead qualification strategies? We're going to help you put numbers to some of this so you can see, okay, this is like my baseline is like with funnel fillers, actually doing pretty good, right? But maybe building authority voice, I haven't done much content. So there's a place for me to improve. So the idea is over the longer run in each of these 9 categories as a way to help you track your progress to go from level 1 to level ninja over the course of the time that we work together. So we're introducing this idea of a badge system just to help you kind of keep track of your progress so that as you're building out your entire sales process, you have a way of measuring the progress, not just like things seem better. Does that make sense? You down with that? Cool. So what we'll do in the next couple weeks is send you out a quick questionnaire for you and your team so we can give you a starting point. And then by the time we get together again in January, you'll be able to see the progress you made from now until January. Make sense? You guys down with that? Sound good? Zach's giving me a double thumbs up. Dude, awesome. Speaking of January, question?
Do we usually do client intensive
3 times a year.
3 times a year?
Yeah.
Allison's like, we just get in January.
Yes, we do. So speaking of, if you want to mark your calendars now, then we're going to do this again, January 16th. Is that okay? Okay. Because if Ann says no, we have to change everything. No. That's like, we're like pretty much sure that's when we're going to do it again. So if you want to start thinking about just book, keeping that time open or travel or anything else, we'll know for sure in the next couple weeks. This event that we just put together, we started planning this back in June. So we've gotten pretty good at figuring out all the mechanics. Those of you who've done this before, you know that this was, we raised the level a couple notches from before. Rachel, question? Oh, you're saying that we raised it? I got validation. Yeah, I got the okay emoji. Yeah, that's awesome. So we'll do it again in January. We'll come back together and we'll work on new stuff. We'll have new speakers, we'll have new content, and a new 100-day plan that'll start. Sound good? Everybody excited? Awesome. So let's talk about between now and January. And what we want to do is think about the next 100 days. So does anybody know 100 days from now it's like late January, right?
No, it's Sunday, December 28th.
So,
December, because yesterday, 100 days was Saturday, December 28th. Now it's Sunday.
as logic would dictate, yeah. So it's before the end of the year. So we have maybe a little less than 100 days in terms of total working time. I mean, I'm assuming a lot of you will take some time between Christmas holiday and New Year's. Even if you don't celebrate Christmas, the rest of the world takes off that week, so you might as well too. A lot of people take that time off. So if we kind of think about between now and, say, pre-Christmas holiday, there's we'll call it about 100 days. And so what we want to do here is think about what are the key projects for your sales process. So if we think about whether it's on the prospecting side, if it's getting more deals closed, if it's doing better with pricing and upsells and customer success, what we want to do is identify a couple of key projects. Projects meaning just like you would on the product side, right? You don't just like wake up and code and be done the next day. I mean, these are bigger kind of sprints. So we want to come up with 2 or 3 kind of hallmark projects that over the course of the next 100 days, this is going to be something that if you execute on this project, it will significantly improve your sales process. And so while you've gotten a ton of information thrown at you, not all the information is stuff you need to implement right away. You only have to implement the most important stuff. So what I want to do first is, if you're with a team, we'll give you a couple minutes to chat with your team. If you're by yourself, you and I can do a quick chat. Give you like 5 minutes just to kind of brainstorm some ideas. And if you can say, hey, between now and the next 100 days, if we can improve 1 or 2 or 3 key aspects of our sales process, maybe it's around filling the funnel, maybe it's around executing on the content strategy that Jen shared, maybe it's about doing better with lead qualification, or it's like, hey, we need some more ROI and case studies, or we need to do a better job of pulling deals through the pipeline. Whatever that kind of like macro level outcome is that you want to get between now and the end of the year, we want to start thinking about what those projects look like, and then we're going to help you start building a plan when we get back together in 5 minutes or 10 minutes to help you get started on that plan. Does that make sense? You guys good with that? Yeah. Okay, so I'll give you like 5 or 10 minutes to brainstorm some ideas. You can use Post-it notes if you want to, or just write down in your workbook. I would not recommend you using don't use the sheets yet. So we have these sheets. We're gonna fill those out later. Do not use these yet. For right now, I just want you to brainstorm ideas of the kinds of projects and outcomes you want to get to. And then once we know that, I'm going to talk you through how to use this project placemat, okay? So just for now, get ideas down. Question? The Girl Scout badges? Oh, those. Yeah. The Girl Scout badges. I love that. These. Yeah. Okay, cool. Exactly. Yeah. So like there's maybe 1 or 2 or 3 areas you're like, hey man, like that's our biggest gap. We really need to fix that. If we could fix that in the next 100 days, that would be awesome. Thank you, Ann. Cool. So I'll play a little music, and then we'll come back together and start building out those project plans. All right. So before. Hello. I like that bell. So before we move on, I just want to make sure everybody's clear on where you are. Does everybody have a couple projects that you want to work on over the next 100 days? These, of course, can change, but this is just a way to get you started. You can't say, like, I have, like, 12 things, because we know 12 things won't happen. I know. Jeremy's like, ah.
We're gonna cut it down.
We're going to cut it down. No, this is fine. So what we're going to do is we're going to take 2 of those projects and start to build you a project plan. And this is just designed to help to structure your thinking. Just like just like a product sprint, we want to make sure that we've got some plan of action here. And so I'm going to talk you through doing this twice. I'm going to do 2 of these. So what I want you to do is you go to page 104 in your workbook if you're not already there. We have these blank worksheets. There's 5. I think there's 5 of them in the workbook, so you can just do a rough draft now and then do a final draft later. So the first thing we want to do is I'm going to walk you through the boxes. And as I'm walking through the boxes, just scratch some stuff in so we can leave here with some actionable stuff. Sound good? So number 1, upper left where it says project name, just give your project a name. Give the project a name. Like, you can get kind of fancy with it, like Operation Lead Qualification Strategy, right? Or you can just call it like funnel fillers, whatever you want. Yeah.
Is this a moment we are picking the strategy for the next 100 days? Just like.
Yeah, you're gonna start to outline. You can change.
Yeah.
We're not going to hold you to this. I promise you. But we want to get in the practice of sketching out some projects. Okay. So give me a couple examples of project names. What are some project names that you guys have?
Turn a free pilot convert it into paid.
Converting a free pilot into a paid, because you have Sutter that just signed up and you want to make sure they're paid by the end of the year. So super, super tactical.
Building a sales funnel to close 20 customers.
Building a sales funnel to close 20 customers. I would break that out. Like building the sales funnel is a project. Building a sales funnel is a project. And even more specifically, you could say what are the sources of the sales funnel? Is like building a LinkedIn lead gen strategy would be an example, or building a email nurturing campaign to the list of people. That's a project you can't do on Tuesday at 2 o'clock. It's going to take a few weeks to work out, right? What are a couple others?
CRM and tool chain setup, just to get our internal tools in a row so that we can start.
Okay, so restructuring the tech stack, the CRM tech stack. Yeah, that's something that's not going to happen at Tuesday at 2. It's going to take a few weeks, maybe even a couple months. Cool. Any others? Trevor, what's one of yours?
Mine is basically the same. Sales funnel CRM.
Sales funnel CRM. So is it sales funnel or CRM?
Having it live.
Having a CRM that represents your sales funnel?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Do you guys have a CRM right now?
Technically, yes.
I love that. We are paying for a CRM. Yeah, we have it. We have it, but we don't use it. I have a lawnmower. I don't use it. Yeah, awesome. So I like to use this as examples just because I want to make sure you're not going too broad with this, like the more specific and tactical. I'd much rather you end up picking a project that you knock out in 4 weeks than pick a project that's too broad and you're like, wow, this is going to take me all year. You can always add stuff later, but it's harder to take things away. Okay, is that clear? So then next box in the middle where it says description. Give it a little description. Imagine the way to think about this is if, I'm talking to Ajay, or he meets somebody at the bar, and he's like, yeah, I'm working on this project on building my sales funnel, or my LinkedIn lead strategy. And they go, well, what does that mean? What would be the 1 or 2 sentence description of that project? So give it some more details. It's almost like headline, subscript. Main title, subtitle. What does it mean when you talk about that project? Describe it in a sentence or two. Everybody got that? Anybody not got that? Who needs more time? No one? Cool. Okay, so then third box on the right, it says 100-day targets. So what's the best way to measure outcomes? Quantify them. Yeah. We need to be able to look back after 100 days. If it's December 20th, or roughly 100 days, you're about to take a week or two off. You want to know, what did I do? How do I know I successfully completed this project? What are my targets? So there's 3 bullets here. Maybe it's just 1 metric. Maybe there's 5. We want to put some metrics in there so that when you're sharing this with your team, you say, hey, we're going to work on this project. This is how we're going to know that we're done. So what are your 100-day targets? And if you need some help, just shout them out and we'll help you define those metrics. Sometimes people call them KPIs, like what's the key performance indicator for that project, or metrics or numbers or whatever. So what's the outcome that you can know that you're done?
This one, like I want to do more work around meeting design, meaning like for each interaction I have with my prospects, what is my goal out of each one? What content am I sharing, or what am I trying to learn? I'm still like trying to.
So maybe an outcome would be having a playbook and a framework in place that says after each meeting, I have a form I fill out internally, copy and paste, and that's my email that goes out, as an example. Yeah. Everybody have a 100-day target? Yeah? Good? Okay, cool. So next line down, next row down. So successfully completing this project is important because we need to give ourselves a why. This goes back to commitment, right? So we talked about this in the very beginning, right? We have an outcome. We need to give ourselves a reason for doing this, right? Why is this thing important to us? So is it important because we're losing leads by not having a good system? Is it because I'm wasting time on too many bad leads or people that are not a right now kind of lead? Is it I don't have enough leads, so I need to fill the funnel? If I had more leads, it would help me drive more revenue. We got that? Cool. So then middle box there, second row, if I reach my target, my reward will be. Now this is really important. You got to give yourself something tangible. If you hit your goal, what are you going to do? You could go to Dallas and buy a jacket from Nana, for example. That would be a good reward. Yeah. Yeah. That might be your punishment. Yeah, if you don't. No, I think this is something we don't do enough. This is something we don't do enough of. Like we talk about this all the time. Like you're running a company, you're working in an early stage team. The reason that you're doing this is you're constantly pushing. We never celebrate progress. So it's really important that we have something in there, and that reward could be for you and the team. It's like, hey, we're going to do buy pizza for everyone, or we're going to take everybody out to a movie, or I'm actually going to take a day off. Take an extra day off. Like that could be a reward. You got to give yourself something really, really tangible if you reach your target. And then subsequently, or alternatively, if you don't reach your target, what's your consequence going to be? And it should be something that's painful. So last year I did this. I was trying to finish up the second draft of a book manuscript, and I promised myself I was going to get this done before Thanksgiving. And if I didn't get the manuscript done, I told myself I was going to do 500 burpees. Does anybody know what a burpee is? Yeah. I promised myself I'd do 500 burpees. No, like in a day. Yeah. It's disgusting. Yeah. Guess what? I got the manuscript done. Yeah. I'm like, I was working until that Wednesday before Thanksgiving, but I got it done. So it should be something you're willing to hold yourself accountable to, and it should be something that is like a real stick. Burpees are pretty bad. Burpees are a good consequence for anything. And you should be willing to share this with your team. Like, hey, team, we're working on this, and if we don't accomplish this, this is going to be our consequence. Right? No paychecks for 2 weeks now. I'm just kidding. Yeah, I'm just kidding. But like another example, I've seen people. There's some websites where you can set up a goal for yourself and then put money into an escrow account. Like, hey, if I don't reach my goal, if I don't go to the gym 3 days a week, then that money gets donated to a charity, for example. There's ways to kind of give yourself an incentive. Yeah. They needed the money more than me anyway. Yeah. Yeah. So then the last row here, 5 key steps and tasks. Now these don't have to be 5 in order, and these are not the first 5. These are just like, hey, when I look at this project, these are kind of the big things I know need to happen in order for me to successfully complete that project. So if it's, CRM, one might be like, buy a new CRM or evaluate a new CRM. Migrate from old to new, shut off the old one. So you just want to start to outline what are the big tasks, the big steps. So I'll give you a couple minutes to write some of those down before we wrap up. And these may end up changing. You're just giving your best guess. Just like a product roadmap. You're like, oh, we're going to do the sprint. We think these are the big outcomes. They may change once you get into it, but you just want to get some stuff documented.
Is there, do you have any thought, my approach to this, having done 100 days of like nothing with you already once, is not your fault, being my fault, like biting off more than I can chew and then be like, oh.
Not necessarily true, but you're being a bit hard on yourself, but go ahead.
In a good and bad way. I think about like scoping it down to something small and then stacking up a bunch of them, so I'm like decoupling the work from other work. Is that a good approach to something like this?
Could you use different words to describe what you just said?
Sure. So if instead of saying it's one big ambiguous project, it's 5 small projects that together, if I could pull them all off, it would be awesome. But if I only do 4 out of the 5, at least I made progress.
Yeah.
I'm getting like a nothing delivered. It'd be like the engineering approach to
Sure.
like agile, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, so it doesn't necessarily have to be binary. Like if you make improvements in 4 out of 5, if you've done 4 out of 5, it doesn't mean you failed,
Right. No.
right? It was hugely successful. You got 4 things done. If you get 1 thing done, that's better than 0. So let's celebrate that.
Yeah.
So yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
If decoupling it, using your terminology, helps to break it down and say, hey, I'm going to do 1 thing a week.
One thing without having to wait for the other thing.
Yeah, totally. Go for it. Yeah. And then the last thing we want to do, so this is probably, of all the things that you're going to do on this sheet, the most important thing you can do is this last section on the right where it says, my first 3 steps are. Because you're going to walk out of here, it's Friday afternoon, you should definitely take some time, take a break, get some rest this weekend, chill out with your family, do whatever it is you do on the weekends, fly to Ecuador, like Zach is doing tomorrow. Because that's what he does on the weekends, is fly to Ecuador. We're going to make the first 3 steps super, super easy. So you're like, hey, if I only have 15 minutes on Monday, what are 3 things I could do? So it could be something as simple as like, hey, I need to go in my calendar and book out 2 hours of time, block out 2 hours of time to work on this. Like that is the first step, blocking out 2 hours of time, right? Number 2 might be log into my CRM and see what new inbound leads I've had, right? Number 3 might be export that list so that I can work on it when it's time for me to do my work sprint. So these should be super, super easy. The idea here is we want to build momentum, right? Build momentum. So Mary Lou was talking about doing 1 push-up when her coffee was brewing, right? Steven talks about this where it's like no 0 days when he's doing workouts. It's like 1 thing that you do. A lot of times you do 1 push-up, you're like, well, shit, I just got on the floor and did 1, I might as well do 5, right? And then you're like, oh, well, I'm down here, I'll do a few sit-ups, right? So all of a sudden, because you start it, that's what got the rest of the action going. So if you make the first 3 steps really hard, then you're going to push it off, and then you never get started, right? So it's like people that like want to start working out. They're like, oh, I want to lose 100 pounds. You're like, well, okay. Well, what's the first thing you can do? Cool. Well, let's go to the store and buy a bunch of good food. That's easy, right? So it gets you on that path. So first 3 steps. Everybody got that? Is this helpful? Yeah. Do you want to do a second one for a second project? Okay, cool. So, beep, turn page. Remember that from elementary school? Did you? The beep? You didn't have those? We used to have audiobooks, and how many people? Oh, this is a quick generational question. Quick generational question. How many people in elementary school? Who knows what a film strip is? Oh, you got to run the projector. You were the bomb. How many people know what a film strip is?
Like actual strip of film?
Yeah, you don't know what it is then. So back in the day, we didn't have movies. We had still pictures that had an audio file that ran alongside of it. It was like an audio, yes, this is like amazing. I love this. So it was like watching a movie. That's awesome. No, it was like an audio book, and you would show a picture, and then when the book was moving to the next picture, the book would go beep, and if you got to run the projector, you got to be the person that pushed the button that went from one still picture to the next.
Oh my God.
That was a big job. Yeah.
We're so advanced now.
I know. I mentioned that.
PowerPoint.
Yeah, exactly. So
Come a long way.
we've come a long way.
In 10 years, right? 20 years.
Something like that. Yeah. Some of us were born in the 70s, early 70s.
I was born in 81, and I was born in a rural area.
A rural area, like meaning Sacramento? No. That's where I live. Okay. All right, let's get us back on tap. Beep. Okay, so next page. Same thing. We'll go a little faster this time now that you know the format. Number 1, write in your second project name. Give it a name. Give it a name. And then after you've given it a name, give it a quick description. What's the name?
Pantheon Happy Hour event.
Pantheon Happy Hour event. That's one of the projects over here. Love it. What's the description?
It's a partner event where we're joint targeting marketing executives to come and learn about the new versions of Drupal.
Perfect. Perfect description. Now the person who doesn't know what a Pantheon event is, they have some semblance of idea of what the hell that means. Yeah, I know. I'm just saying. Because I know, but most people don't. So you have a project name, description. Third thing you want to do is give yourself a couple of targets, metrics, outcome. It could be 1, it could be 3. Probably not more than 3. You guys are doing great.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Heading home, so thank you.
Do you hugs? Is that okay?
Of course. I'm Italian.
Oh, awesome. Okay, so we have project name, description, 100-day targets. Row 2, successfully completing this project is important because... Oh, we're not ready yet? Sorry. You guys need more time. I hit the film projector too soon. Does everybody have metrics now? 100-day targets? Row 2, successfully completing this project is important because... So imagine you go back, you're with your team, it's Monday, and you say, hey, this is one of the projects we're going to work on over the next couple of weeks, months. By the way, this is really important because, it's really important we do this because of blah, 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 blah. You want to fill in the blah, 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 blah. And then once you've got that, then if you reach your target, my reward will be blah. And if you don't, your consequence will be blah. Lots of blahs right now. And then finally, bottom row, what are some of the key tasks or steps? What are the big things you know you got to happen in order to successfully complete? They don't have to be in any particular order. You're just throwing stuff down here. And then finally, your first 3 steps. Pokey. Pokey's a good reward. Or like, take the team out to a big sushi.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Just not shrimp sushi.
not shrimp sushi. We went to Blowfish Sushi, which is not far from here. It's good. It's really good. Super good. I just never.
Not shrimp nigiri. It was like it wasn't like a shrimp tail over like a little.
No, it was sashimi.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was like this.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I tried it. It tasted like bait, basically. Yeah. It didn't taste bad. It just had a weird. Yeah. What's that? Yeah. Like I like octopus taco. I like it's really chewy and like oh. I do. Oh, so you eat octopi? Yeah. So everybody got this filled out? Yeah. Good. You guys good back here? Good. Good. Oh, you gotta go pick up. Yeah, go for it. Man. Cool. Okay, so how you feeling right now? Is this at least, does it help to consolidate a little bit? Feel a little bit less freaked out about the amount of information that we just shared with you over the last couple of days? Yeah? Yeah? Okay, cool. Okay, so last thing before we wrap up. Almost done, almost done, almost done. Okay, listen up. So what I want to do is just do a really quick recap of the last couple of days, and then I have two last requests of you before we go. So first is, like everything we talked about over the last couple of days is based on this commitment model. Right? We talked about the challenge of getting people to commit into the funnel. I mean, Mary Lou talked a lot about the difference between kind of working on, or what Jen called considering, versus like real sales opportunity. Like we're trying to get people to commit into the sales funnel, and then once they're in the funnel, getting them to commit to be paying customers. And that's a lot of what Patrick talked about with like really getting clear on what features of the product matter most, getting clear on what's the value creation for the price that people are paying or the price that we're asking, and ultimately making sure that we're getting the price that we deserve to charge. So that's big picture theme. Everything we talked about was around working through this commitment model. Because if we do this right, for us, we can create a real sales opportunity, and for the customer or the prospect, it creates confidence for them to move into the sales funnel. And then when they execute with them, they're going to get the result they want, and you're going to get impact and fulfillment. So everything around what we did the last couple of days is sort of based on this theme. Is there any questions or anything that we covered that you're like, I just got this one last thing? What are you feeling most nervous about, or what are you feeling most anxiety about as you walk out of here in the next couple of minutes?
I have a question about, like, we have a complex buying process. So our buyer persona.
Anybody else have a complex buying process? Yeah, I'm just kidding. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, so when we're doing our buyer persona one, we're specifically like working on like our director of marketing, but we know that the director of engineering will be a player.
Yeah.
And so he's in our buyer personas where we do like the economic buyer and those
Sure.
types of buyers. Do we build a persona for those buyers as
Yeah.
well as our main personas?
I would, yes.
Like, so our economic buyer of this target.
Well, she said up to 4 personas.
That is there's 4 categories in the buyer persona.
Then yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Because as you're creating content, like she used the CFO example,
Right.
they might not be like the lead source, but at some point they're going to be involved in the sale.
Okay.
So you need to be really clear about the messaging is, and maybe even doing a couple posts for that crowd, or giving them some consideration tools to help them think about the Drupal migration versus not having any of that baseline.
Okay, because like we target mostly, like we don't do name targeting, it's just been whatever comes in, so it means we have lots of higher ed and nonprofit and corporate.
Mm-hmm.
We want to target corporate, but the higher ed and nonprofit are coming in and they're still feeding us, so I don't want to like not do profiles for them. But
Sure.
their needs are slightly different. Their needs are different.
Well, just keep in mind, like she said, if you've got like 3 different markets, you're doing 4 personas for each of those 3 markets. Now you've got 12 personas you've got to manage.
Right.
And so if the future of the business is corporates,
Yeah. Okay.
even if the now is paying the bills, if in the future you want to get more corporates, then all of your content, all of your focus, all of your selling should go to the corporates. right? Because if you build personas and market to higher eds, you're going to get more of them even if you don't want them. So do less of what you don't want and more of what you do want, and then you can make that transition. It'll take time, but it can happen. Yeah. Question?
2 questions. Will all the decks be shared?
Yeah, so all the decks will be shared. So we're getting them from Patrick and Mary Lou and Jen. We'll get PDFs of all those, and we'll get those. Probably just do like one page with a link, and you can just download them all in Dropbox or something like that, rather than emailing them.
Question, will you share the attendee list? Like, I want to connect with you.
Yeah, for sure. And everybody's on Slack too. But yeah, we can do.
The email helps, like just having a name and email.
Yeah, I think, is everybody okay with doing LinkedIn invites or?
I don't like LinkedIn.
Yeah, so I want to be sensitive about email addresses. I mean, if everybody's okay with sharing email addresses, I'm okay with that. But I don't want to just like, here's everyone's email address.
We're all on the invite, so if you go
Yeah.
to the calendar invite, we're all on there.
There you go.
Yeah, I mean,
What's that? Okay, cool. Then we'll do that. We'll make a, here's what we'll do. We'll make a list of,
spamming, we know each other. It's just like
no, that's
someone
cool.
said something.
So we'll just do, we'll actually do like one master list of all the folks, because there's people like that aren't here from Sweden and London and other places. So there's like 65 people in the group. So we'll get their names, their LinkedIn profiles, their company, and their email. We'll do a master list. Just promise that if we share the list, you don't, sell it. Just kidding. I know you won't.
If you guys end up on an office newsletter, I mean, I don't know how that.
Yeah.
You're not
Yeah. So cool. So I want to do one quick round of I want everyone just to quickly stand up. I'm going to point, and 10 seconds or less, I want to hear what is your number one takeaway. We're just going to start here. We're going to face each other. Garrett's going to start. Tell everybody what is your one takeaway. You can do a circle if you want, but we're going to do rapid fire.
Right here to start group.
Yeah, we're good. So we'll start right here. What is your number one takeaway from the last 2 days?
Need to prioritize.
Need to prioritize. Love it. Next to Zach.
Really like Jen's talk. Lots to think about it.
Yeah.
I think the most valuable was creating these 100-day plans because there's a lot of information, but having something that we can actually.
Cool. Love that, Anj.
Great. And meeting all of you is great.
Cool.
There's some rooms where we can add a little bit more humanity to us.
Love it.
I'm really proud of where we are, and I'm really excited for where we're going.
Cool. Jeremy.
Got a lot of very tactical as well as strategic things out of it. Like starting with those great ways.
Cool. Sarah.
I need to action pretty immediately some of these frameworks we learned about.
Awesome.
Audit, we need more self-auditing.
Cool.
Honey,
Oh, now we have to start over. We have to start over now.
Sales got to be a company-wide effort, and there's a lot of value to bringing non-sales people into this.
Totally.
I think for me, it's not just learning myself. I need to share all of this with the team because I need to bring everyone together on board. Otherwise, it won't happen.
Totally.
I am shockingly bad at not having any of my KPIs at the tip of my fingers. Like,
And despite that, you closed 8 enterprise deals over the summer.
how many did I know?
Yeah. There we go.
Should have been 16.
Good ways to document processes as I hand them up.
Awesome.
SDRs are vital in the lifeblood of any company.
Hint, hint, wink, wink.
100-day plan is awesome.
Cool.
Put everything together. The 100-day plan
100-day plan.
is really good to pull all the things together that you need to do. Focus,
Cool.
set goals, and rewards.
I'm really excited to kind of organize our content for which decision stage they're in. So when our staff are like, I want to do this thing, we can kind of be like, does it map? Yes or no? Or how can we edit it? So just having more of
Cool.
a framework for our enthusiastic writers.
I've learned I don't have enough hours in my day to do all the things that we need to do. So I think for me it's prioritizing.
Cool.
Sales can be learned.
Sales can be learned. I love it. Yeah. Awesome. My biggest takeaway, like one of the things I learned is that how much time I love spending like in person with all of you. And no, I mean that. Like we do the Zoom stuff and the Slack stuff and all the other things, but at the end of the day, like getting together and working on ideas and like watching you guys mastermind yesterday and watching at dinner last night. Katie was mentioning like, sometimes you're not on the sales calls and we don't even like, who are you? Do you even exist anymore? But no, that's like it's very gratifying to me to watch you guys grow and for us to be able to take, this event used to be 13, 14 people, and now it's, we had 39 people registered. Some people couldn't make it because of travel and stuff. But to watch you all come here with your teams is just super. It's really gratifying for us because we've been committing to keep growing. Obviously, we grow the team. We're trying to grow the ways that we can support you. So thanks for being a part of this. I really, really appreciate it. I'd ask for two things. So one is if you'd be willing to do a quick testimonial. Stacy's back there. She can just ask you a few quick questions so we can take that from you and share that. One of the best ways for us to find new customers and clients is through referrals. Many of you came in through referrals, and the less time that we have to spend doing workshops to find new people, the better, so we can spend more time with you. So testimonials are a way to do that. Secondly, one of the things we talk about is commitment, and a lot of you, either individually when you signed up, or your bosses did this and you didn't know it. We do this thing called the Startup Selling Promise, and it's something it's really, really important to me. And the Startup Selling Promise is all the stuff that we promise to you and a couple things that we ask back. And I just want to just share this and ask you, like individually, many of you haven't signed this because it was just part of the contract. But now we're working with you and your teams. I would ask that everyone take a copy and sign it and leave it behind. So the Startup Selling Promise works like this. We must work with you one-on-one to get and create a customized game plan and help you get really, really clear, crystal clear on your 3-month goals. We must, talking about the team here, we have to hold you at a higher standard than you might hold yourself, right? And keep you accountable for your best results. We want to train you on the latest strategies in building your sales process every month and through webinars. We want to connect you with our tribe, which I feel like we've done. We want to critique your work, rip it apart, rip it to shreds if we have to, because you want what's best for you. So we need to be honest with you. We got to coach you every week, so we're never more than 7 days away from the answers you need. We want to give you access to all the other people and all of the client sites. We want to listen to you. We promise to listen to you. If there's anything, your job is to complain. We'll talk about it in a minute. If there's anything that we're not doing, tell us. We want to treat you with class and care. We want to apologize if we ever let you down for any reason. And we must not let you off, because if we let you off, then we feel like we let you down. And what we ask for you is that we ask for you to be quick to implement, quick to ask for help, and share your wins and learnings, because there's a lot of that here. We ask you to keep your commitment fully and pay your program fees on time. I think that's a fair ask. We ask that you respect the IP that's here. Share it with your teams, as many people as possible. And if there's other people that need help, just let us know, because we don't ask everyone for referrals, but when we do ask, we would kindly ask you to send somebody of your caliber, because the less time that we spend looking for new clients, the more time we can spend with you. So I'd really appreciate it if y'all would take a copy of this, just put a John Hancock on it, and if you're up for doing a testimonial, Stacy's in the back. Other than that, look for the first sales stand-up on Monday. If you want to join on Zoom, Steven's going to be leading that, Steven and Julian. I'll be there as well. He's going to lead the meeting because he's really good at it, and we'll pick it up from there. Sound good? So give you guys some love. 3, 2, 1. Awesome. Thank you so much, and y'all have a great day.